was one of the things that we worked on with Aegex. So the story starts about a year ago, and this, you may have seen one of these devices, was I think on top of this building or one of these right next door. So you may have seen these, you may have been up there, heard about them before. So this was a picture I snapped. I got to come down and watch them install these devices. And so up top here is wind detection, speed, direction, things like that. And inside the box is a Raspberry Pi. So it's a small micro computer, and basically they had this project and it was amazing and really cool, and I got super excited about it and wanted to recreate it and kind of expand on it a little bit and build something that was a little more customizable and controllable. So inside one of those boxes would be something like this, and this is the prototype that we built. It's a Raspberry Pi, so it's a very small computer, has USB ports, Ethernet, HDMI port you can plug into a monitor. You may have seen those before. And then there's a variety of sensors connected to it. So we have gas sensor, flame sensor, temperature, pressure, humidity, all sorts of things. And so the idea here was just to kind of build a prototype that we could then expand upon. And so that is sitting behind me. It's connected to my wireless, and it's collecting data from this room. It's collecting temperature, pressure, humidity, light data, all sorts of things. So here's the full implementation of the product. We have these specific sensors that I mentioned, and the Raspberry Pi. It's a version 2, so it's an older model of a Raspberry Pi, but they're pretty affordable when it comes to small computers. This one has a Wi-Fi dongle attached to it. The newer versions come with Wi-Fi. Dating ourselves a little bit, but basically we wanted to build an application that went all the way into a mobile app, and something that could be viewed on Aegex's Windows 10 tablets, but also iOS, Android, and any sort of Windows phone. So we go up into the cloud. We go through a variety of different things, storing in a database, which then we can pull into the Xamarin application. So I'm going to go through each of those pieces. The first one is IoT. We wanted to go along with the theme of Windows 10 because Aegex had Windows 10 tablet, and Windows 10 IoT Core came out, and there was support for Raspberry Pi, which we had conveniently located at the Microsoft Innovation Center, where Aegex is above in the Flatiron building. And so there's a lot of security features that come built in with the Windows 10 IoT Core, so it was very convenient. A lot of those built in, ready to go. You can even install BitLocker, so you can have on boot time encryption. We didn't install that, but it's possible. And really, we wanted to go with the one platform notion. So you build it once and it deploys across multiple devices. And so we have an app running on the Raspberry Pi. You can connect an HDMI monitor to it, and you can view the application that's running. And we could also spin that application up, put it on a HoloLens device, Xbox, anything that's running Windows 10. So very cool story there. And we also have a bunch of different connectivity options. And so one of the cool things is that you can remote into the device here. And if my laptop wasn't all the way over there, I would show you. But we could basically, on any Windows 10 device, we could install this free app and view what is on with the UWP app that's running on the Raspberry Pi. And so it made it very easy to sort of debug and get started with the application. And you can see a variety of other devices that are available for Windows 10 IoT Core. So it was free. All of this was free, and so it just made it really easy to get started. This is the remote client, the connectivity piece where you can jump into your Raspberry Pi application or your Windows 10 IoT Core application. This, if we were to do that on the device that's running back there, we would start to see the data come up on a device. And I have a little tiny monitor I could connect to it and show you as well. If anybody wants me to do that, come ask me later and I'll show you. But we're getting data such as temperature, pressure, altitude, all sorts of things. It's not fancy, very simple, just the data coming up. And so when it does that, it actually goes through a whole bunch of stuff in the cloud. You may be familiar with some of these pieces. So get the data from the Pi, from the sensors. We send it into an IoT hub, and this is sort of like a temporary storage unit for IoT messages, and it also enables sort of device management. So we can have security on our devices. We can also enable things like routing for different messages to send in different places. So we're routing all messages into an Azure function. And there's actually 2 functions inside of this particular Azure function. And so it's watching, and it'll get triggered when there's a new message in the IoT hub. So anytime there's a new message that comes in, new sensor data, the Azure function will sort of clean up that message and then send it to a storage system. In this particular case, the SQL database. So one of the reasons that we went with the cloud route instead of doing anything on-premise was that these pieces are interchangeable, and they're very easy if you're doing something with the cloud. Instead of SQL database, we could have put it into any different kind of database or storage system, MongoDB, or table storage. And then same thing with Azure Function, is we could have swapped that out for another sort of streaming job to get data from one place to another. Cool thing about Azure Function is that it's completely serverless, so we didn't have to spin up a virtual machine. We're not dealing with any FTPing or network passwords or anything like that. It's just some code, and we're sending right into a database. So it's really fun and very customizable, especially with if there's something else you want to add in the code, like send a tweet to Twitter or something, then that's very easy to do as well. So we come all the way through the cloud and into the Xamarin application. And it's a very simple application, or at least it was about 6 months ago when we did the project. Just viewing the data, just grabbing it and putting it on the screen. And you can see this is running in an iPhone application, and it would run the same across all 3 types of devices. There's a menu that's available as well. So that was the project that we worked on very quickly. And so there's a lot of opportunities, though, as you might know, when you're collecting all this data. One of the things that we wanted to do was to build the graphs and charts that would be really convenient to see once you log into your application on your mobile device. And start to view where all your IoT devices are, what sort of data they're sending, what sort of alerts that you might be getting. And of course, if you have a whole bunch of data, do some machine learning on it, right? Do some data analytics, do some prediction, try to predict the weather changes, anomalies, and things like that. Pretty recently, I was able to go in and start to do some fun updates to the application. And so the top row here is the current flow, right into an IoT hub, Azure Function, and SQL database. And then the second flow is sort of a fun way to start to deal with the data, and it's through IoT hub routing. So anytime there's like a fire sensed, or there's an earthquake sensor on there as well, anytime one of those triggers, it'll send an alert message and start to go down this bottom path. And in this case, the IoT hub will start to redirect those alert messages into an event hub, which is a temporary storage solution, and it is what an IoT hub basically is built on top of. And then we have what's called a logic app. So a storage system for your alert messages, and then a logic app will be triggered upon every new event hub message. And these are a lot of fun. If you've ever gotten to work with something like if this then that, where you can connect different pieces together, but you also now are able to connect your cloud solution resources as well. So I just put down here, once you get an alert message, do some sort of action. You probably want to get a notification of some kind. And with a logic app, it's very easy when you're building proof of concept applications, or even in production. You have all these different connectors: Dropbox, Facebook, Twitter. There's so many. There's hundreds. There's a few here, which you probably can't see very well. Twilio, you can send text messages pretty easily and things like that. So this application, if anybody has a lighter or anything, we can test it with a fire simulation, and it will send me an email at this point in time. The demo it for you, but it's all the way over there, and you probably get the gist. Any questions, just let me know afterwards. Hey! Although I have to go turn pieces on, so maybe later. That was the team. That's us at the Microsoft Innovation Center. And the official technical case study that we published went live 2 days ago, and it is up there in the Microsoft GitHub, so it's really cool to see that come through. Coincidentally, at the same time the conference was happening. Let's see, how much time do I have left? Do I have a second to run over there and do some demos? I'm turning off of my free IoT hub at this point. So there's 8,000 messages per day that can be sent through an IoT hub, and I can go into this device explorer. And I can see a bunch of different devices that I've connected already. How's the screen size? Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. And I have the sensor device over here, which is being connected to from that particular Raspberry Pi. And you can see all the connection strings and things like that. Please don't borrow those. And then the routing and the endpoints is down here. So you can see it's really a few clicks and whatnot inside of the Azure portal. And so anytime there's an alert, it is going to send, based on this rule, into an event hub. So very cool, very customizable. You can change the way that the messages are being routed in through. And this is the event hub endpoint that it's being sent to. That was not so very exciting. So we'll jump over, and I want to show you the Azure function. Has anyone worked with Azure before? Worked with, okay. So this is maybe a first for IoT Hub and Azure Functions and Logic Apps. Yes? Okay, fantastic. So if I find the sensor app function and enable this, then we can start to see the data go through. And there's a lot of local resources as well when dealing with IoT Hub stuff. So here's the two function apps, the two functions inside of the function app. And so it's a bunch of code here. And it's nice because you can also get this logging that's available up here. You can run some tests as well. So this one is just cleaning up the data, just cleaning up the messages and sending into a SQL database. So fun stuff there, and then even more fun stuff, and one of my favorite things is the Logic Apps. And I'll enable this one as well. And we can go into the designer. You can also do this in a code view. You can also spin up Azure Functions in something like Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. So here is a very simple Logic app when we're just looking at new messages in the Event Hub and sending an email. So if there is a flame or if there's an earthquake sense, then I will at this point get an email. And there's more that you can do. There's more alerting functions that you can do as well. And it's so easy to come in here and choose an action. There's hundreds of different connectors, so I'm not going to scroll through all of these, but you see a lot of Azure stuff. There's even cognitive services that are available, so if you want to run sentiment analysis on any sort of message very quickly, computer vision, so you can identify the objects that are in the photos that you're capturing, potentially on your IoT device. All sorts of fun ones in there, so Facebook, there's Google Drive. You can send HTTP requests, all sorts of fun ones. So that is the cloud pieces that are running for this application. And I can't show you the Xamarin App because that's not installed on this particular computer. It's a new computer. But are there any questions?